Welcome to the Health and Wellness Hour. It's that time of the month for us again, Danny.
Apparently so.
And I am your host, Maryann Castello. And you are?
I am Danny Coleman.
Who's munching out on chocolate or gum. I'm not sure which
It's actually
it is.
gum. I figured I'm going to get rid of it.
My talk inside of Ryche. So.
See, there you are. And then we're also here with our musical director, Ryche Chlanda.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Thanks, Maryann. Looking beautiful this evening.
I left my boots in the car.
Uh-oh, what's he want? What's he want?
I don't know. And then
I want the chocolate little art push.
No.
Oh.
No.
I had that lined up perfectly. See that? And then we have engineer Art this
Really?
evening as well. Yes,
You're
I
going
did.
OCD on me now?
I did for the camera. See that? I really did.
How's that for the camera?
Wow.
Well, see, Danny is a little rambunctious because Danny is in vacation mode.
I am.
You really are.
Was that you?
Excuse me. No, I hit the microphone with my nail.
Oh, my Lord.
The guitar nails that he has.
These are picking nails.
Okay, guys.
Where'd you get them? Bella Lugosi?
No, I have to go to the salon. to
Not
the,
only do you have your nails, but why do you
gels,
have a
they're
white
gels.
ribbon tied to your
I was
microphone?
wondering that too.
I don't know. I think that
It's got
someone's
Claire's
trying to
name
tell
all
me
over
something.
it.
Someone's trying to tell me something.
Oh,
around here.
yeah.
Did you win a prize or something?
I probably did.
Chocolate.
Art, give me the prize.
Chocolates, right there.
Oh, chocolate.
That you're chewing so profound in that microphone.
You
That'll
are the
do it.
proud winner. No.
That'll do it.
That'll really do it. But we are gathered here tonight, and we first want to talk about our sponsors, right? And the first one is Neo Zoe Health and Wellness Center in Cranford, New Jersey.
That's an easy one for you.
It is.
Give me the hard ones.
Well, this month at Neo Zoe, we are actually running a special. Are you ready for swimsuit season, Danny? Anybody? Okay, well,
I am.
I might be ready
come in
to
for a
see you in a
nutritional consult.
swimsuit,
We
but-
could try to fix that and change your lifestyle. Also, we are also sponsored by Flying Dreams in Ryche, Chlanda and Flying Dreams.
Thank you very much.
And Recovery Spot in New York City, the one and only physician-run recovery spots by Dr. Ramesh Sawhney and Dr. Scott Bienenfeld, and where we have our shows every week, and we thank them, City of Angels.
Oh,
The City of Angels, yes.
great. Thank you, Art.
And if you want to be part of City of Angels, you can make a donation.
Greatest nation in the world.
Donation. See, he's here this week to say that this time. You weren't here last time to say that. I tried to say it for you. But I can't do it like you can. I can't. You would click on the donation tab. You would figure out any denomination you like. And in the special instructions, if you put the shows either Health and Wellness or Rock on Radio or What's Next, we will make you a sponsor of the show for 30 days.
That's right, just like George.
You
Wouldn't
might
it be
call in
amazing?
tonight.
What if he calls in?
You know, what if?
What if?
We'll
That's
accept
scary.
wealth and
He's-
helmets, too.
Well, one girl makes a mistake and she cannot live that down, that mistake.
Well, you can call and harass Maryann about that mistake if you want at 609-241-7103.
Might even win something by doing that. Depends.
I got... Okay.
You got what?
I have Rock on Radio supplies in the car.
What kind of supplies?
Lube.
Rock and roll lube. Rock on radio lube.
Lube. They really do give out Rock on Radio lube on the other shows. But this is
It's
all.
dial hand lotion.
And if you spell it backwards, that's what I said.
Oh.
Right?
That's just great.
Well, you called it lube.
Yeah.
And then I saw the brand. I couldn't help myself. But we are gathered here tonight for our very special guests that are putting up with us right about now.
I think it's hysterical.
And we have from Recovery Centers of America, we have Miss Emily Gray.
Oh.
Hey,
And
guys.
we have Dawn Belamarich.
Oh.
Hey.
Thanks for having us.
You're very welcome. And I try to do a little bit of research on Recovery Centers of America, but you guys are going to be the ultimate pros here. But I found out that there's evidence-based care They provide individualized addiction treatments for heroin, alcohol, and opioids. And it's in your neighborhood, so it's a full spectrum of addiction treatment services close to where you live and work. And it's affordable and accessible, free interventions, financing options, and insurance verifications. And I'm sure so much more that I have not said. So welcome to the show, ladies. How are
Thank you for having us.
Wow.
you? Very welcome. And what I'd like to know is, for those listeners who've never heard of Recovery Centers of America, if you could fill us in on what it's all about.
Yeah, well, let me just start off by saying that Recovery Centers of America was founded with the idea that we want to get as many people into long-term recovery as possible. So our mission is to save 1 million lives. And we want to do this one neighborhood at a time. As you mentioned, it's like right in your backyard. And what we mean by that is we want people to have accessible, quality addiction treatment in their neighborhoods. And right now, we currently have 6 locations in the Mideast, all the way from Massachusetts down to Maryland. Tonight, I brought Miss Dawn BELAMARICH, who is the clinical director of our New Jersey location, down in Mays Landing. So a couple of things I'll tell you about RCA in general, and Dawn's going to speak a little bit more about the clinical program. Is I want to really stress to you guys the way that we're going to treat and help so many people is we're making addiction treatment accessible. And what that means is there's a lot of barriers for people who need help or want help or sometimes don't want help. And what we've done is systematically, like one thing at a time, try to determine solutions to that. So someone who needs help, we can assist them with, we can take just about every single commercial insurance that there is, and we provide financial assistance. So if someone has large out-of-pocket costs, co-pays, deductibles, we can work with them and set up payment arrangements. We don't want finances to be a barrier for someone who needs help. It's stressful enough reaching out, and the last thing we need is people getting kind of hung up on these other details. So we want to be able to help them where they're at. The other thing,
Great, by the way. It's wonderful.
it is,
Yeah.
it is. I really admire our founders and all the work that they've put into making this as simple and easy as possible. So if someone calls us, in the first phone call, we can identify what their needs are, where we're at with their insurance policy, if there's an out-of-pocket cost, if there is, how are we going to help them figure that out and set up an arrangement. We're going to send out a black car service to pick them up if they don't have transportation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're going to do anything and everything possible to get the person who is willing, even if it's just a shred of willingness, in our doors before they lose it.
And that's on the first phone call.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, so we have our financial specialists and our intake coordinators all within the same building, kind of working hand in hand for anyone who calls looking for help. So, I'm out there in the field, and my job is, they call me the treatment advocate, and what that means is I'm out and I'm educating people on what we do and building partnerships with other providers and just trying to be a resource. And so people can call me directly. I give out my mobile number, and someone can call me directly, and I can start to expedite the process. And another way that people can come to us for help is they can go right to the website, recoverycentersofamerica.com, or the 1-800 number. You cannot forget it. It's 1-800-RECOVERY. And we will get this process started for you, and we will follow up, and we will do everything we can on our end to make it accessible. Everything from medical clearances to getting prescription information to, if there's legal issues that need to be handled, we'll take care of that to the best of our ability. So that's just a kind of, in a nutshell, the way that we help people get into treatment. And then once they're there, like as you said, was the specialized care. So we have some specialty programs at our facilities that are making the outcomes so much better. I know Dawn can kind of talk about that a little more. The couple of the things I want to point out, something I'm really excited about is we just rolled out a first responders program. Okay. And it's fabulous. Right now we started it at our Devon facility, which is right outside of Philadelphia. And it's filling up fast because it's incredible what they're doing over there. We also have a young adult programming. We've identified the young adult population as having that serious need, and we separate them by gender because we find that when they're not separate, there's some distractions. You know, it's part of the disease.
Slightly.
We could get into a little bit more about why that is. But so we separate them by gender, and so that also puts the older adults in their own kind of track, and so people can be with who they identify best with.
See, we're
and-
gender specific here. If you take
Yeah.
notice,
Yeah,
it's 3
Yeah.
and 3.
I thought that was intentional. I didn't want to ask. I didn't know.
Just saying.
because we understand the benefit here. You guys get it.
Yeah.
Just for the record, I did not invite those two.
Oh, nice. So it was just going to be you.
I tried. All right, how did you get off 4 tires back to inflated? How'd you get involved, Emily?
It's been a long story. So I've been in the addiction treatment world since about 2010. And for me, it came through my own personal recovery. You know, I came into recovery as a very young woman in 2005. And after a number of years of being in the front lines and helping people and offering support and hope to others, I thought this is what I want to do professionally. And so I went back to school and I started working in treatment. About 6 or 8, maybe 8 or 10 months ago, I was approached to come work for RCA. I had already been working in a counseling position, and I was looking for a change. You know, I was looking for something bigger picture, kind of stepping out from behind that counselor role on a greater scale, the macro scale. And you know, I was approached to come work for RCA, and the more I learned about it, the more I couldn't wait to come work for RCA. You know, we were just at our corporate meeting today and talking about just the amount of integrity and ethics in every single thing that we do, especially in a world, in a climate where addiction treatment is not always kosher, you know, and we're starting to see that out there and more, especially in New Jersey. And to be able to work for a company that I believe in my heart and soul is doing the right thing by every single patient, I love it. I love it. And so, with that, I get to talk to lovely people like you all day and hang out with Dawn, and it's amazing. So the other thing I wanted to mention too is we offer intervention services. So, and it's not an extra charge. You know, we're not going to bill anybody for it, even if the loved one doesn't end up coming to us. You know, we're not going to be coming looking for anything afterwards.
Rob's a great guy.
Yes,
He
you know
is.
Rob. He's fabulous.
We love
You know,
him.
we've had we get so many family members that call looking for help for their family member, and they know the need, and everyone else can see the need and how critical the situation is, but the individual is just not there yet. And what the interventionist can do is come in and show that individual from another perspective why this is important, and that you have a whole team of people that are here to support you. So we offer the intervention services as well, and I don't know any other program that's doing
No.
that right now.
Definitely not
you
free
know?
of charge either. to,
No,
go out.
absolutely not.
Dawn, you traveled. If you're down in Mays Landing,
Yes,
that's a pretty good haul from here.
it sure is.
Do you live down in that area?
I live in Atlantic City. Yes.
Okay,
So
all
like
right.
20
So you're
minutes
about
out.
all right. So you're about an hour and 15
From
hour
here,
and a half from
yeah.
here. Okay, I'll be. Want to give me a ride home?
That would be great.
That's
yeah.
my favorite playground.
Yeah. No, the less I have to do when I,
I
leave
have
here,
a
the
7
best.
a.m. out of Atlantic
Oh, are
City
you going out of the
tomorrow
airport?
morning. Yeah,
You
so
can
I-
sleep over. I'll take
There
you right
you
to
go.
the
Careful,
airport. You're all
careful
set.
what you're
I got my
asking.
own Uber.
Careful.
I knew that this was meant to be.
See? This is perfect. I got everything's in the car too.
Flying
Careful.
Spirit in the morning.
Here in the morning.
Good
That's
for
it.
you.
See? See how things just come together sometimes?
Sometimes they do.
It really was.
Sometimes they just come together.
Yes.
You're turning red, Coleman.
You know why?
Why?
Because a thought just struck me.
Yeah. Do you
So-
want me to tell you what that thought may have been?
I think we could piece it together.
Yeah.
It was a different thought
Oh, really?
after that thought.
Okay, yeah.
That's why I'm laughing.
Do share.
So I go home with Dawn.
What are you eating, Andy? What are you chewing
Oh,
on?
it's lasting a long time.
Go.
Jesus.
When
It
we
is
have
gum?
gobs out here, chocolate. There's chocolate everywhere.
No, it's gum.
So
It's a YouTube show.
It's definitely that time of the month.
Sorry.
twice.
I keep hitting this microphone with my guitar.
So I go home with Dawn,
Wait a minute.
and out comes Bluto,
Yes.
and he crushes my face into the couch where I'm sleeping.
It's a possibility.
That could happen.
Okay.
That could happen.
Sorry, but I digress. So anyway, Dawn, you drove a long way.
I'd be turning red
Well,
too.
we were in Pennsylvania today because Emily pointed out we had a corporate meeting, but that wasn't any closer. So yeah, it was about an hour and 15 minutes either way, but an hour and 15 home.
Okay. So, all right. So never mind. That just shoots that whole line of questioning right out of the water.
I feel bad that this plan isn't working out for you.
That's
Like
just-
I really wish
I'm
I could've
enjoying
worked it out
watching
better.
it because
I
he's
wish I
trying
could've worked
so
it out
hard.
No,
better.
because I was going to say you must really be committed to the program if you are driving this far, to be on a 1-hour show.
That was a great save.
Well, and I think yes. I mean, I would have come regardless if it was in Mays Landing. It just happened I was in King of Prussia today. So
Oh, King of Prussia.
Yes,
I'm
the
quite-
beautiful.
I'm quite familiar with King of Prussia.
yes, it's a nice place.
It is.
So we were there today.
Okay.
She was going to come anyway.
Yes.
Was she?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They're dedicated.
We have a
There you
good
go.
team.
They have
we
a
all
lot of
work together.
dedication
Yeah.
and passion.
I called Dawn and I said, we're doing this health and wellness show, and I think I would like for you to come, and because you can speak more to the real clinical part of our program. And she was absolutely no hesitation at all.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
really
so what is
reliable.
the clinical part?
So Emily pointed out, she's out in the community. She's really doing the work behind the scenes and getting our patients into treatment. When our patients come into treatment, that's when the real work begins. So in Mays Landing, we have a 53-bed facility, inpatient. When our patients come in, as Emily pointed out, it's really that level of support and guidance from initial point of contact. So our admissions team works to make sure that they're stabilized, that they're comfortable, that their needs are met, and we're able to admit them typically into our detox program. So detox is where they're able to come off their substances safely with 24-hour medical monitoring. From that point, we have a full treatment schedule 7 days a week and staff that works 7 days a week, 365.
And you do the detox too, right?
Yes, we have detox and residential. Our typical program is 30 days. So all of our patients come in typically are, aware that it's a 30-day program. What that includes is
Is that enough? Is that enough time?
No. So we were just talking about this, ironically enough. It's a good start. That's what I always say. So we pretty much help our patients, as far as I'm concerned, get that stabilization that they need to continue their treatment process. I oversee our outpatient departments as well. So we have a PHP, which is 5 days a week. We have IOP, which is 3. All our patients are recommended to step down to aftercare. It's a requirement for anyone coming into treatment with us. Recovery is a lifelong process. It's not a 30-day process. So we are working, everything, as Emily pointed out, is individualized treatment. We meet our patients where they're at. If we feel like them going back into the community after 30 days is substantial, we will work with sober living providers or, treatment facilities that have some supportive housing to really help them get on their feet. So it's very packed. Their day starts at 8 o'clock in the morning and it goes pretty much until lights out at 11 o'clock. There's 12-step groups. We're very 12-step philosophy, which is great for a lot of our patients. But we also have Reiki, yoga, meditation. We have a fitness center, so
you
they're
do.
able to
That's
get
great.
that physical fitness. Yes.
Very nice.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of, we have music therapy,
Okay, yeah.
which is awesome. But also a lot of our team members that run the groups are in recovery themselves. So it's really meaningful and impactful for
yeah.
the patients coming in.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a really positive experience. I think
Very nice.
we have a call.
Ooh.
Yes, we do.
So exciting.
Welcome to the Health and Wellness Show. Who is this?
My name is George, and I'm addicted to Danny Coleman. I need some help. Please help me. I'm getting too much Coleman. I need to need a little break from Coleman. I'm glad he's going on vacation because I'm addicted to Coleman. Coleman.
George, how's your mom? And he's gone.
And he's gone. And with that,
That's Danny.
And
That
with
was
the-
the greatest thing that happened to
I
me
know.
today, hands
But
down.
with that, if you're just joining in, you're listening to the Health and Wellness Show on cityofangelsradio.com. And if you'd like to call in, you can call us at 609-241-7103, just as George showed you. And we are just going to take a 30-second commercial break from our first sponsor.
George is addicted to Coleman. Did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Help him, ladies.
I think we need
Yeah, he needs an
clearly doesn't
intervention.
need
I
an
think.
You need a-
intervention because he's ready to go. So we just need to call transportation.
You need a-
He has
you need a-
insight, so that's a good thing.
You need a Coleman.
a Coleman. We need to detox him.
Yeah.
Are you constantly living with dysfunction in your life? If so, there's help. Neo Zoe, New Life Through Balanced Living, is a very unique holistic wellness company that's here to help you preserve a healthy balance and eliminate any dysfunction. We use an individual approach through nutrition, massage, and various other holistic practices. You can restore your optimal health and a healthy lifestyle. Visit us on the web at neozoe.com or call us at 732-713-0123. Welcome back to the Health and Wellness Show tonight on
Already?
coaradio.com. You could call us on the show at 609-241-7103.
We're not all on vacation yet, Danny.
No, we're not.
That did go quick.
It did go quick.
I have to say, I've been on vacation since about noon. My boss wasn't too happy.
No. But you know what I have to say? You know what art reminds me of? For those of you that are going to, that are listening to this but can view it on YouTube in a couple of days, is like you're like Tim the Toolman Taylor, Mr. Wilson,
I missed
that
that
was
show.
over the fence that you could never see him, but you only can hear
There's
him.
no camera on him. Yeah, that's true.
That's art.
I'm right in the middle.
Because every time I watch a playback, you just hear you. You don't see you. Is that on purpose?
He's like
Heidi
the
ho,
mystery
neighbor.
man.
By design.
On purpose.
Yes, Heidi Ho.
Idea.
Well, we are here with our special guests this evening, Emily Gray and Dawn BELAMARICH from Recovery Centers of America. And we were just speaking about your program. And one thing that you touched on is beside the 12-step programs and all, that you also have yoga, meditation, and things like that. Is that something that, is that incorporated into someone's program automatically, or is that something like an extracurricular type thing that they could take or whatever interests them or something? Like, how do you work that?
So all of our patients that come in are able to access all of the, services, including the yoga, the Reiki. We have spirituality. We have pastors that come in, and it's non-denominational, but they're able to offer a lot of spiritual healing for our patients that are in dire need. So the schedule is inclusive for the male and female, as Emily pointed out, with the gender-separated programming. But really, we like to encourage the whole goal of treatment is to step outside of your comfort zone. So even our patients who, yoga's not for me, I won't like it, we really encourage them to try it because, they don't know what they don't like until they try it. So we do have a lot of our patients that, week one, they're like, Dawn, absolutely not. Like, get out of my face. I'm not doing that. And then by week two, after we've built some trust with them and they know that, we're really in it to help them, they'll step out of their comfort zone a little bit and engage in it. The Reiki is actually, and I'm sure you're aware, the Reiki has been a huge hit, which was a little surprising to me as well. It's very healing energy specific for, with our patients. I didn't know if it was as movement or as much going on as maybe they'd be accustomed to in a typical group that we offer, and it gets rave reviews. So it's been something that's extremely beneficial to them, and it's a supplement and in addition to the great programming that we provide. So it's great. It keeps hitting.
third time is
it's
the
all I
charm,
can
Rich.
think about. It's
Apparently,
all-
apparently, Chlanda wants to continue to provide you with some additional programming.
it's all I can think about every time it hits. I know it's
Sorry.
coming.
And that,
It's
and that's
shut
our
off.
music director.
Yes, he's
Sorry.
having issues tonight.
It happens.
It's shut off now, so we're good.
So, like a lot of the supplemental programs, and then we have a full counseling team. So we have a clinical staff, master's level trained, but they hold 5 groups a week with their caseload. They do individual counseling. We have a very strong emphasis on family counseling. So within 72 hours of our patient's admission into the facility, we attempt to get as many positive supports in their life as possible and engage them in the treatment process. Because we know we only have the 28, 30 days, as you pointed out, not a long stretch of time, we really work hard and fast to ensure that they have a stable foundation in the time that we do have with them, so that we, have identified in that time what is going to be beneficial for them to step down to one of our outpatient programs or to transition to their next level of care.
Sounds wonderful. It sounds.
So, in other words, you have a comprehensive plan, even for the family and the
Yes.
individual, before they get discharged.
Yeah, our
Okay.
family program we have a weekend family program where in order to visit any of their patients coming to the facility, family members, and that's all encompassing. So friend, girlfriend, whoever you identify as family, has to come to a 3-hour module. It's an education module. It gives you information on alcohol, the disease of addiction, Narcan, you know, how to save a loved one's life. We are actually providing the Narcan trainings now in those family modules. So all families that leave are able to get a kit and ultimately save someone else's life if, you know, the opportunity presents. But ultimately, they get a little bit of information about the disease of addiction, why their loved one is acting the way that they may be, how to really not, you know, forge a codependent relationship and support them on their road to recovery. So it's really beneficial, and it's important that the families have that prior to the visit, because a lot of our patients may not be in a place where they want to stay, you know, or they're like really super excited about
and even
recovery.
family members are like, well, why do I have to go to this?
Yeah.
It's not my problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
Right.
when addiction walks into your life, I mean, you need to educate yourself.
It's
about it.
everyone's problem at that point.
If your child was diagnosed with cancer, would you not go out and find
Yep.
everything that you could find
It's
out
a
about
family
it?
disease, and I think a lot of us don't, and, you know, being impacted by addiction in my family, you know, you don't realize how much you are, you know, I hate to use the word enabling or codependent or what the case may be, because that's just the behaviors you've become accustomed to. So I think the important for families is to come in to really get an understanding of the disease and how they can be supportive in their role as that individual and loved one, you know, transitions through the recovery process.
And that's how you got involved as well?
Yeah,
A family member?
a lot of individuals throughout my life, I would say, like Emily, I've been in this space for a while. So for the last 15 years, nonprofit work prior. So I was a vice president at a nonprofit. I did a lot of the back end grant writing and building of programs. And much like what Emily pointed out, you know, a lot of loved ones that I know have been impacted. And over the last 5 years, I really started to see the in-your-face epidemic, I call it. The disease was always out there, but definitely more the publicized. And when the opportunity with RCA came up, it was really interesting to me because I knew I would be able to have more of a direct impact than I felt on the administrative side. So now I get that perfect mix of administrative and clinical, and, you know, I really see the benefit to the patients.
May I go on here for a second?
Sure.
Hit me with it, Tammy.
What do you got?
Do it. Hit me with it.
Oh, my God.
She's ready.
Born ready.
That is That's all I got.
That's all you got.
That was good.
No,
Coleman,
That is a
Coleman,
typical
Coleman.
man. They just cannot think. Look at this.
So when's the first Danny Coleman group?
yeah, the
We can
addiction-
host you.
Coleman
We'll host you at
Anonymous.
Lighthouse.
Now,
Yeah.
you
When we find George.
one of the things that I find by being involved with the City of Angels for probably before you came around, even Art, back when kind of first started, City of Angels was actually an advertiser. Well, they advertised. I didn't charge them, but they advertised when Rock on Radio was on AM radio. And it just always strikes me as funny or odd, not ha-ha, but odd, how certain people will refer to it as a disease and others refer to it as a choice. Now, if you're going to become addicted through the neglect of your medical professional, so to speak, by continuing to give you Oxy or whatever, painkillers, Valium, Vicodin, whatever they're going to give you. Okay, there I see where it's not a choice. But if you're having a bad day and you decide, you know, okay, maybe I'm going to try and lighten it up. Everybody says this, and you choose to go out and drink too much. You choose to go out and take pills or put a needle in your arm or smoke crack or whatever form it is, knowing the dangers. How do you, what's it? It's fine.
We're thinking of who's gonna like do this.
I'm like,
out
let
with
me
you.
have at it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, because I'm going to tell you whether rightfully or wrongfully before I even hear your answer, other than, you know, having a major surgery and then being fed painkillers and having trouble coming down off of them, I'm on the side of choice. Because I know many people who were just fine individuals, but then got to high school or out of high school and had some dead-end job, and, you know, they were happy as long as their paycheck met their party needs. So Go for it, Emily.
Do you mind if I do this first,
You're
Dawn,
yeah,
and then you
have
can
at
wrap it all up?
dude. Have
okay.
at it.
Wait, save some for me.
Okay. And we'll save some for Art too.
Yeah.
So my take on this, and this is because I do a ton of advocacy work, and part of the reason why I do that is because of things like this, because we need to understand, right? We can't just call it a disease and expect everyone to just accept that, right? Because a lot of ugly things happen when people are addicted to drugs. So
Or when you think of a disease, you think of cancer. You think of, you
right,
know,
like medically
cirrhosis
yes,
of the liver.
yes,
You
yes,
think
yes.
of. Notice I
So-
threw that one in.
So my take on here is this. What it boils down for me is we're talking about unhealthy coping skills most of the time, right? Aside from those
No, you're right.
prescription, right? When a person becomes dependent on a substance to regulate themselves, it often starts at a very early age, right? And so we have to look at the mindset of the person who starts using. And what oftentimes where that is 13, 14 years old.
Molestation, sexual abuse.
Well, and then there's that piece too, right? And so we know there's a significant relationship between trauma, any kind of trauma, complex
And the drug
trauma,
use
and
the
drug
pain,
and addiction.
right.
So, I could say that, there might be some level of choice when we're talking about a grown adult who just decides at 35 years old, I'm just going to start using drugs for no reason, right? That would be one thing. But most of the times when someone ends up in a situation where they're dependent on a substance, this has been going on for a very long time due to some traumatic events and not having any other coping skills, right? And so then they find themselves as an adult not capable of coping with life without an outside substance. And the scariest part is with a lot of these drugs, it actually changes your brain so that even aside from that choice, you've started causing damage to the parts of the brain that give you the ability to reason and make clear decisions, right? So yes, it's a choice, but we have to look at the person making the choice. Is this a 13-year-old that's struggling with untreated mental illness? Because is that really a choice?
When we're
Right.
talking to kids, I mean, there are two types. There's there's a party boy or party kids, or there's the kids that are escaping from something. So you have to determine whether there's a mental health issue
And
or it's a party issue.
Right.
I'll say this just as a rule of thumb, and I know I live in Atlantic City, so I know plenty of people who socially drink, who go out, who in my opinion, aren't falling into this category of addiction. In my honest opinion, addiction is a disease because I can tell you what I see every single day. Not one person in this world would choose. I can't imagine a person who would say, "I choose this life." And
Yeah, but not the life, Dawn. See, somebody at some point chose to try that drug to see
Right.
how it would make them feel. To try
Right,
doing
but a
this.
lot of people try drugs and don't end up in rehab. So there's a choice when you try it initially, and then there's no longer a choice when whatever impacts you in a different way than everybody else leads to chronic use that you cannot quit.
Well, just like everything else, everybody in the world is different.
Well, like
You know.
food,
And some
there's
people
tons of
can
different
drink, and
addictions.
some people can drink, and you would never know the difference. And some people will drink, and you're like, "Wow, there's somebody
Yeah.
that should
I
be
think
drinking."
what Emily pointed out is really to me, and this leads into the track that we're going to talk about. There is some reason that people are numbing themselves all day, every day, and I think that's why treatment is important, because people may not realize that, okay, I've been drinking for 30 years and I don't have to feel A, B, and C. It's just a behavior pattern they've developed over time and haven't felt in 30 years. The reality is like we're all a product of our learned experiences. For one reason or another, use, overeating, workaholics,
We're huge
gymaholics.
addictive personalities.
The addictive personality in you is using that to block something, to not feel something, to mask something as human beings. Substances are just one form of that addiction. But
I mean, there's shopping, there's sex,
there's a
the
million
internet.
There's
of them.
food
There's a
and
million
food.
of
There's
them.
comfort
Cell phone,
food.
yeah.
People that
absolutely.
gain all kinds
Yes.
of weight can't
There's
stop.
So, and
Cell
that,
phone,
yeah.
sex.
Cell phone? Oh, I can't
That's where
even
you
tell
had
you
me.
about technological.
I mean, people
Porn
walk
is a
around.
huge one, too.
Nobody looks up
Really?
anymore. I mean,
No.
go to a restaurant. People don't even talk to each other. They're sitting
Yeah.
across the table texting each other.
So I think everyone does have a choice in picking something up the first time. And, maybe 13, 14 years old, we could all look back and be like, wow, maybe I shouldn't have done that. We didn't care at the time. I think that there's just, to me, definite people who are more inclined or life situations that kind of encourage people down a different path than just your social drinker or, whatever the case may be. And to me, I do refer to it as that disease because I can tell you, as working in a prison, I've worked in hospitals, I've worked in a rehab now. the symptomology is one and the same in that if this individual really could control that urge, they wouldn't be in front of me.
Yes, when it catches up to you, it catches up to you.
And it's really sad, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
because, and, you know, different strokes for different folks. Like, I want everyone to believe what they want to believe. It's just the things I see is really the numbing of some pain that one did not know was the pain they were numbing. And that really is the ultimate goal for us in treatment.
This golf trip I'm going on tomorrow, okay, has been going on for probably the last 20 years.
Cool.
Okay, and it started out in Ocean City, Maryland. I would go down there and meet my father and like 30 of his buddies. And I remember saying to my dad one time, I said, you know, these guys are hammered. Why do they keep drinking? I mean, you hit a point where,
Right.
and he said, because they like the feeling up here. And as soon as they come down here, for those of you watching on radio, for those of you, you know, as soon as you come down here, they need to get back up there.
Yeah.
So that's why they drink. Me, you know, I when I would go on them trips, there'd be, you know, I'd have one good night, pay for it the next day, and you know, the next day I knew that after, you know, a beer or two, I would stop because
Right.
I didn't want to feel that way anymore. You know, I guess I have trouble because it's, you know, matter of fact, buried a buddy of mine this morning, died of liver failure. Was he a drunk? No. Did he like to drink? Yeah. But it caught up to him eventually. You know, was he an alcoholic? No. But it caught up to him.
But some people, you know, I lived how many years on the road with alcohol,
Yeah,
and
yeah, no,
drugs
no,
in your
we
face all
talked
the
about
time,
this.
you know, and
We've discussed
you know,
this.
I was able, once I got married and had children, to go click and shut that switch off
Yeah,
and go lead a normal life. Not everybody can
No,
do
and
that.
plus,
yeah.
go on, Dan.
I've been a rock musician since I was 12.
Yeah.
You know, and I've never done drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a, you know, I knew had the sense to say, nah, it's okay.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you
I
know,
think
when-
that's a really important point too. We have to realize that when we're looking at an individual who is intentionally poisoning themselves every day, that there's something wrong there, right? And that if I can't
Well, you're
identify,
100% correct.
yeah, if I
Yeah.
can't identify with that,
absolutely.
that doesn't mean like I don't know a single person like you said that would voluntarily subject themselves to the lifestyle that they find themselves in after becoming dependent on some of
Yeah.
these
Well,
substances.
when
Travis.
I'm a musician, so I do a lot of road work and stuff like that, and play a bunch of shows, and even the rock and roll lifestyle has changed. Backstage is no longer doing bad things and drinking.
Yeah, I was
It's-
highly disappointed.
It's
by
water.
the way.
It's water and a vegetable dip. You know, because we want to be healthy too.
Yeah.
We want to feel great, and we want to do it every night, not just get hammered. So that is changing.
Yeah. Well, that's
You
good
know,
to hear.
which is a great thing.
It is a good thing to hear. So hold that thought because you are, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Health and Wellness Show on coaradio.com. And you can always call us at 609-241-7103 if you have any questions or you want to chime in or concerns. And right now, we're just going to take a 30-second commercial break from our next sponsor.
If addiction, pain disorders, and mental health issues control your life, and you are ready for change, the Recovery Spot offers expert outpatient care for addiction, pain disorders, and mental health issues. We offer focused, high-quality treatment specifically designed for you. The Recovery Spot, we offer new hope for those suffering from pain and addiction. www.recoveryspotny.com. We're located in New York City.
Okay, and we are back. Welcome back to the Health and Wellness Show. And we are still in full discussion here
About vegetable
Wow, those
trays.
commercials
about
are going
vegetable
quick.
Yeah, I don't think that was
trays.
Those commercials are going quick.
They really are.
No, we're talking about the rock and roll lifestyle. It is water and vegetables, basically, that keep us going. You
Well,
know,
n-
and
look at how many really incredible musicians we've lost recently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's
People are-
'cause
people are
they're
recognizing.
old.
No, that's a lot of prescription. A lot of
There's
If
o-
50 is old,
overdoses.
then I'm going to be in trouble.
no.
Then I'm dead. No, but think about that. What's she like? I mean, Glenn Fry was what? He died of pneumonia, but that was kind of an accident.
Well, look at Chris Cornell.
Chris Cornell was young.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
who's
these
the
guys
last
are
one that
committing
died?
suicide. What is wrong with that?
Well, you know, it's suicide, but
No,
you
man.
know,
We're musicians.
Chris Cornell was in recovery, and they gave him benzos and stuff. When you're in recovery, you're not supposed to to sleep with that kind of stuff. You're supposed to meditate or whatever. So, you know, you're playing with fire.
It was a
with that kind of
relapse.
stuff.
The man was in a relapse.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
a really bad one.
Yeah,
So
exactly. You know, so
That's something Rich and I have actually talked about on multiple occasions, you know. And we both came to the agreement that, you know, being, you know, musicians, there's no greater high than being being up on
we've
stage
discussed this.
and having people appreciate what you do through applause or whatever it is, you know. I often talk about our gig. It's, you know,
Our talk.
right. I mean, we had a long talk. We had this gig at Cedar Gardens.
Almost the same thing.
There's like 15 people there. A week later, he's on stage at Yestival in front of 18,000.
Yeah.
And you know, there I am out in the crowd, like, please, Rich, call me.
No, you were a rock star that day too.
But you know, and it's such a high. It's beyond me why musicians reach out and do drugs.
Well, you know, when you feel those people, it's like you could feel the
It's an
pull.
energy.
You could feel the water being pulled. I mean, you feel people around you. Why numb yourself out and miss that feeling? Being around people performing great, feeling great, it's the biggest high in the world.
I know, but
mean,
it's because it's a learned behavior. If you've done it in the past, it's what you know.
Right.
You know?
Do you find that's the case?
With what? Learned behavior? I find that there are the high that you just spoke about and the high that individuals experience with their drug of choice or alcohol, whatever the case may be, are typically one and the same. And when you just said it perfectly, it's a feeling you would never give up. It's a feeling you would never want to not, like, it is one and the same. I would say 90% of the time, there are identified things immediately when you start working with someone that triggered
yes.
their need, desire, and want to numb these feelings, to use these substances. Unforeseen to maybe even that individual. But ultimately, to me and what I see on a daily basis and what my experience has been in this field, it's not a choice anyone would make to live this life. I mean, I have people that come in homeless, living in their car, and the desire to use is still so strong sometimes that it's a struggle.
I think a lot of them, it's the immediate need to feel this, but I don't think they are looking at that moment at the long-term effects it has on their health, their families, whatever it may be. And just what we were saying with Chris Cornell, that was like a whole recovery, you know?
I could go into a whole philosophical, off-the-wall discussion about like society and instant gratification and our need to be go, 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 and everything comes instantly. Because I think
I call it the microwave society.
it really is.
It
Like
is.
everything in 30 seconds or less. And I will tell you, I think it feeds a lot into this because when you're used to wanting to feel a certain way instantly or get something instantly, like right now I can go on Amazon in 2 seconds, have everything shipped to my house, and I don't have to
Before
do
you get
anything
home.
before I get home.
I just did
it's a little mini high, right? A little dose of dopamine.
And I
yeah,
think
absolutely.
a little bit society and life is really setting people up to fail in a way because you're not forced to sit and simmer
Right.
in the feelings because there's instant remedies. And it's
All
just
day
not
long.
the real world.
And I want to touch on too. You had mentioned, like, you know, for certain people that they're thinking about this immediate gratification and not really about the long term, right? And it just kind of brings me to, I remember I was working in a nonprofit providing outpatient care, and I remember sitting and just observing that for a lot of people who struggle with substance use disorders, there are certain things that will motivate them, right, to stop using. And a lot of times it has to do with like their children or their career or something to that effect. And I had made this observation that for some reason that that motivation that comes from like being a mother, for example, right, isn't as strong for a certain type of addict, right? And I started noticing that the patients that we had that we were seeing, there was always like I would see these people who it was like that desire to be a parent, right, would just escape and they would just not care, right? And something would happen, and it always was the ones who were abusing opiates. And then I started reading some research and I started realizing that there's a reason for that, right? So someone who abuses alcohol, it causes a lot of problems to them. Someone who abuses benzos, it causes a lot of problems. What it doesn't do, what opiates do, is it actually will destroy your ability to use your survival instincts, right? We know that we have survival instincts. It's to eat, procreate, provide for our young, and have shelter or something. It was like those 4 things. When you abuse opiates, it actually kills that part of your brain that knows how to survive, right? And so caring for your young, eating, right? And so when we look at people where the motivation to be a good parent or have a place to live might work for someone who's addicted to alcohol or benzos, right? And then there's this whole other population of people where it just doesn't work and we don't know why, because that's what happens is after a period of time, those instincts, those basic human instincts do not exist the same way, right? And so how can I expect an individual who doesn't have those basic human instincts to elicit them to want to get clean?
What do
They're
you
just
do?
not
What-
there.
What do you do at that point?
Long-term abstinence, right? And
Oh,
so,
okay.
you know, and we can talk, you know.
It's like rewriting a script for someone. I mean, we'll use examples that are easy. So you smoke cigarettes, you get lung cancer, something happens. That's easy for us to rationalize and explain because we know how that works.
Right.
Alcohol, you mentioned cirrhosis. So if there's liver damage or cirrhosis of the liver, that's easy for us to like picture. With these pills, it's neurotransmitters, it's chemicals in
Right.
the brain. So what people don't understand is what that actually does to something like typical lung, something you think of with other substances that we can give a visual picture of because there's historical context. With pills, it actually affects your brain chemistry.
Correct.
And what happens is you're taking, if I have a 21-year-old who has 5 years of constant use and addiction, and I am essentially trying to rewrite a script of new learned behaviors so that like you can plant a new seed. And it's much like your liver regenerating, your
Takes
kidneys
time.
coming out. It's, you know, I mean, much like diabetes, I guess, in some
Yeah.
levels is a choice. You know, everything is a choice. At some point, there were choices that you made. But by the time we see the individuals coming to us, it's really this broken, you know, trying to rebuild and help them really like reframe their life.
Those are great answers. I didn't know that, Danny. Do you know that it does that to you?
Which part?
Just the whole thing about rewriting the whole script because your brain just
Well, sure,
changes.
because you're functioning in an entirely different mode than you were
Yeah.
before you started to
Wow.
do drugs.
You are, and then don't
No.
forget, it's not just the neurotransmitters, but with any pill that you take, whether it's opiate, anything, even Tylenol, your liver and your kidneys
Yeah.
and your body has to filter that out. And there's a shelf life to these medications. So not just the brain, you have to look at it's affecting the entire
Everything you
body.
put in has an outcome.
Either of you have children?
No.
I do,
Thank
yeah.
God.
Preach that, sister. I have a 10-year-old.
Okay. Now, is part of your involvement with the program to make sure that what you went through isn't going to be what they go through?
Absolutely. I think we have a responsibility. So, for example, my daughter has the addiction history on both sides. So there's a good chance,
Okay.
you know. So it's important to me that we continue to make strides in research and in treatment and learn how do we treat this thing, because I do believe it's treatable, right? One of our challenges right now is, and I speak from an advocacy standpoint, is that, like we said, like we're a 28-day program. We're not a 28-day program because we choose to be, because that's probably the most we're going to get out of someone's insurance, right? And so that's where it's at, is like, we know, Dawn and I know, that for someone who, say, for example, has been abusing opiates for 5 to 10 years, we know that they need another 5 to 10 years for the brain to start working properly again,
Right.
right? And so we know that long-term treatment is going to be most effective. The healthcare insurance providers haven't really gotten on board with that just yet. They're getting there.
Yeah,
They're
it is getting
certainly
better, but yeah.
right. And so it takes having
Well, they
these
can't ignore it
conversations.
anymore. That's
Right,
for sure.
right.
But they're
Yeah.
still kicking and screaming.
It's
you
still
know?
it's a long road.
So what do
and-
you do then? So let's say
Well,
20
as
days
a-
are gone. What happens?
As a policyholder, you really need to be calling your medical provider and pushing them to get as much as you can.
Yeah.
If you can get 60 days from them, that is like, oh my God. You know
Wow,
what I
okay.
mean, in today's thing.
Yeah, no, that's not very. And you know, we do
If
that.
I got
in
60
facility.
days, I would dance in the streets
Yeah.
and like throw parties.
I mean,
You know,
we.
that's what we were talking about over dinner, actually.
there.
You know,
Yeah.
There's all kinds of people putting people into recovery. I mean, we can get you
Yeah.
into treatment. It's what happens when you get out of treatment.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know what I mean? There's not a whole lot of choices.
We have to have something attractive to have them come back to.
There needs to be more recovery wellness centers.
Yeah.
We
Lots
need
of
some-
supportive service all around, like we
Yes.
were talking earlier. It has to come from just a complete wraparound to their living environment, occupational
Yeah.
training, to just everything. People need a fresh start in a lot of ways.
And making
Yeah.
recovery not to use like cool, like make recovery like a
Yeah.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, like very similar to how like, you know, you're in college, you go out drinking. Like it's like a lifestyle.
But there has to
It's
be
like something
things
you
to
do.
do.
Yeah,
You
there
know?
has to be people that are willing to come out and that have some sustaining recovery that are want to be part
It's
of
like road recovery. We're part of.
Exactly.
I mean, when we had our whole building for our recovery center in Hamilton before
Yeah.
they took it away, I mean, we had holiday parties. And
Yeah.
New Year's sober,
Just
New Year's
activities,
Eve
just
parties and
activities.
things for
Big-
people to do.
She
Yeah,
brought
yeah.
up a good point by that we all have a responsibility, okay? And I think that a lot of people, even on the streets, if they know somebody's having a problem, we're as a society very quick to turn our heads the other way and not help. And whether it's your children, whether it's your friends' children, or a parent of those children's, like what you see in schools that is kept quiet that there's a problem at home. I think too, as a society, we fail too in some way, because if we know someone has a problem, we should go out of our way to try to help them or see what we could do. I get the insurance company, I
Not
get the
that.
financial
Not that.
aspects, but what I'm saying is to get help for somebody that might not realize they need help and be able to speak up for that person, you know, and be like an advocate for each other. as a
So,
society.
what do you do when that neighbor's child is doing drugs and you see them doing drugs and you go over and say, look, your kid's doing drugs? And they look at you and they say, mind your own business.
I'm taking a recovery coaching program, to do that. So that's my first step.
We both are,
You know,
so
so
that's
we
how
both
you
are.
know. But you know what? At least
To me, the step is that you approach that other
Yes.
parent to bring it to their attention. Now, whether they made that decision or not, and that's a real life thing, because when my nephew was 15, he overdosed in my sister's basement. The kid that was down there with them ran for the door, which was the red flag, something went on.
Right.
Yeah.
She never went and addressed his parents, and I just thought that was wrong. You know what I mean? Because as a parent, I would want to know. I mean, my mother knew everything that I did, whether I wanted her to find out or
well, once
not.
you first hear it, of course somebody might be in denial. There's no doubt.
You're always
but
in
they
denial
heard
when
it.
you're doing that.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I can show you 100 addicts, and you'll see 100 addicts,
Yeah.
but they're all going to have the same thing in common. They're all in denial. I
Yeah.
don't have a problem.
Well,
It
we
ain't-
spoke before, Art. You and I spoke the other day, saying some people just don't know what to do.
Right.
I guess Dawn hit it right on the head earlier. I mean, nobody wakes up and says, "This is what I want to be today."
Yeah.
Yeah.
mean,
And
it's-
I think we have that responsibility to, I always say this, like this is a general rule of thumb for me. If I have to think, if something goes through my head and I think maybe I should say something, I say something. Like there's a time and a place to like mind your own business, and I have a problem with this because obviously I'm loud and annoying. But like, there's, your kid, stealing the mail every day because he's trying to get detention letters gone, maybe not so much your business. But if you get that queasy feeling in your stomach, like maybe I should step up and say
You go for
something.
it.
You go for it.
Maybe you just step up and say something. I think what is going to happen, hopefully, and what we're really trying to do is make recovery something that's as accessible and normal as anything else
Right.
in,
Right.
day to day, as a coffee shop, as a Starbucks, and
Right.
when we get to that point, I think we'll feel true success, because right now, the instant gratification world we live in makes it a lot harder to process through things and work through things than it does to just go out and get what you want in that moment.
I can say, living in the instant gratification world, it is very hard to sit back and battle this disease for 10 years and still feel like we're not winning this
Yeah.
war.
The struggle.
It is.
It is a struggle.
I think it's kind of like the Middle East. No matter what you do, they're still going to try and kill each other. So you're dealing with that with drugs. As long as there's dirt, and they can grow opioids and poppy and all that other fun stuff,
I know, but we were never at the epidemic level.
Yeah.
or
that
we
are
never knew
today.
about it.
And
Yeah,
here's
well,
the
yeah.
thing too, and this is what makes today different than 10 years ago, right? Was 10 years ago, if someone was having a problem, you often had 5, 10, maybe 15 years before the person really hit bottom and they became desperate and they wanted some help for themselves. We don't have the luxury of people hitting bottoms anymore. It's like a kid starts popping pills in high school because he wants to be part of the cool crowd. By 2 years later, he's shooting heroin and then
Dying.
he's gone.
Or
Because-
they were put on pain medications.
Or
then
whatever,
you
yeah.
They're
raid
shooting
grandmoms and
fentanyl
your neighbors
they,
and all
they
that.
don't have
Yeah.
a choice.
You know, when the medicine cabinets are empty, you have no choice but to return
Yeah.
to the street and get what you need.
So it's gotten that bad. It's gotten that bad. But at least we have shows like this to make people aware of it, right? I mean, people
And we
are
have to
becoming
talk
aware.
about
Yeah, yeah.
recovery, right? So, like, how do you erase the shame in
Yes.
anything? Is you talk about it, you air it out.
Talking.
And I was just thinking about like your scenario, right? If your next door neighbor and their kid was struggling, and my thought would be, hopefully, I would be rational enough in that situation to know that I had to say something, but that I had to do it in a loving, comforting way, right? So that maybe I might be met with resistance because the family is feeling some shame or denial. But I guarantee 6 months from now, when they're ready to talk about it, I might be one of the first people they come talk to because I was brave enough to say
Yes.
something.
And I think it's
Right.
all how you approach
Yes.
someone too. It's not what you say; it's how you say it. Sometimes.
Yes,
Right.
Uh,
my whole job.
My ex-wife had a girlfriend that she grew up with in high school. They were thicker than thieves, and the girl had an epileptic seizure on the boardwalk in Seaside, I believe. Paramedics came and they said to her, does she do any kind of illegal drugs? And my ex-wife knew that she did, but she didn't know she was in that position where.
Right,
Well, so she told him the truth because she didn't know if it was
right.
Of course, the paramedics reported this to her parents. Her parents confronted her, and they haven't spoken in
Shame.
35, 40 years now.
You know what?
So-
If I told somebody about their kid and they didn't want to talk to him anymore, I would still feel good about myself that I did
Correct.
the right
Yes.
thing.
Well, that's,
you know?
I mean, right.
Absolutely.
But so, I mean, you never know how people are going to react. So
Yeah.
it's just like anything else. If you're willing to take the chance on losing a friendship or whatever, then you
Right.
can justify it however you want. But
I always just think like there's a chance that they lose their life too. So it's like the long term. Nowadays, if I
Yeah.
don't say something and they die, then that's like a worse gamble for me because that's like there's
no,
no.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's a hard decision, and believe me, every day I make very, very difficult decisions with people and with their lives, and with, I think this will be best for them, and what is clinically appropriate. But I think we make the best decisions we can based on what we think the individual is going to get the most.
And if you can give our listeners again your contact information from listening to this entire show with a bunch of, very beneficial information, and I think not only informative, but I think people will have questions. How do they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So there's a number of different ways. If someone wants to reach out to us directly, if they have questions about recovery, addiction, our program at all, you can reach me at 732-278-7662. We also have the 1-800 number, 1-800-RECOVERY. And then we're also online at recoverycentersofamerica.com. You can also find us on social media at Recovery Centers of America.
Okay, beautiful.
And they're going to be coming back here on the 28th with us
Yes,
for our open
I
house that
will
we'll be
be
having.
here.
Oh, nice.
Perfect.
28th of what?
28th of April. It's
Wow.
a Saturday from 12 to 4 right here at the First Baptist Church.
We could see you both are very, very caring.
Nice.
You could see too.
Well, that's good
thank
because
you.
we've had a long day, so it's
Yeah.
nice to see that coming through.
Well, this has been a very informative show.
Yeah, I wish it
have
was
to say
longer,
that.
right? I mean,
We
it's
do wish it was
went quick.
longer.
Yeah.
We'll come back.
We'll come back. We can talk for
Absolutely.
hours.
I-
Believe me, we
believe
could
me.
talk for hours.
I think all women can. But also to let you know that our next show will be Wednesday, May 16th. It's going to be a special 90-minute edition. And that is because it's going to be Neo Zoe's anniversary.
Whoa,
For
so you're
health
going to
and
give me a
wellness.
massage on camera?
All right.
Well, it's on radio at first, Danny, so we'll have to see what it brings, but also bringing some people that have changed their lifestyles and want to talk about it, how they did it, teach others, and just share the information to help us celebrate our anniversary for health and wellness. So that'll be on Wednesday, May 16th from 8 to 9:30 p.m. So stay tuned for that. And I'd like to thank you both, Emily and Dawn and Recovery Centers of America, for coming on Health and Wellness. And thank you for everything that you guys do for everybody.
Yeah, thanks, ladies.
Thank
You guys.
Yeah.
Enjoy that vacation.
I
Yes.
will.
And next time. Good night.
Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Well, here comes the sun, and I say, it's alright.
It's a boy.
Look, honey, he's walking.
Happy birthday to you. You've got it. You're on 2 wheels.
Great game, bud.
Be home by midnight.
Where have you
Who are
been?
these friends of yours?
Did you take money from my wallet?
Are you on something?
What's wrong with
Don't
you?
leave.
Where are you
Get
going?
back here.
What are we gonna do?
Don't let the memories end with addiction. Call 1-800-RECOVERY and get your loved one the treatment they need and deserve. We're ready to help.